So, what's up, people, and welcome to the Chapter 88 discussion of Kaiju 8号 or Kaiju number 8. So, Chapter 88 came out a while ago, and as always, I will leave a link to this chapter that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So, if you're interested, I will go take a look at it before they pull this chapter back. Okay, so, Chapter 8 was very, very interesting, and I found it to be so because of the way it brought this chapter out compared to the previous two chapters. Now, if you recall, in the previous two chapters, we were getting a very in-depth understanding of Commander Narumi and his past, and his relationship with Isao Shinomiya. And there was some interesting stories with regards to that because he had always found that Commander Shinomiya was a wall that he could never overcome. And he kept on driving himself to become better so that he could eventually go beyond Commander Shinomiya and get his respect. But he was never able to do so. And this created an empty part in his soul and a tremendous amount of frustration. And because Monster Number 11 had the memories of Commander Isao Shinomiya, this became doubly so. And what we find out in Chapter 88 is a very interesting flip side to this. Matsumoto Naoya decided to give Isao Shinomiya's perspective of the same situation. Now the chapter starts out in a backstory once again with Isao Shinomiya working out very hard in the weight room. And eventually, Commander Itami comes to see him, and he's wondering what he's doing working out so late. And although Isao Shinomiya does not give Itami a real answer, Itami did not really need one to understand what was going on. He knew that Isao was working out very hard to continue to stay ahead of Narumi. And why he was doing it so late in the evening was because Isao was realizing that Narumi was catching up real fast and he was very close to overtaking him. And we find out something very interesting with regards to how they viewed Narumi. And it gives an explanation of why their relationship was that way as we saw it in chapter 87 and 86. Basically, when Itami said, "Why are you driving yourself so hard against this particular rookie?" The rookie wasn't particularly law-abiding. He wasn't particularly a great student in many ways. But Itami really understood what the answer is because Isao saw potential in him. But because of that lackluster personality that Commander Narumi had, Isao always had to stay ahead of him so that Commander Narumi will have some objective to go after. If he did not, that lackluster personality would go back to its easygoing state and he would never reach the levels that he could potentially obtain. And so Commander Shinomiya kept on pushing forward. And even when Commander Narumi got to a point where he was almost able to overcome Commander Shinomiya, Commander Shinomiya did not falter and kept on going because he always had to remain a challenge to Commander Narumi until he reached a certain level which they felt was acceptable to being the one really powerful JDS soldier that they were hoping for. And so now, if we review back chapter 86 and 87, we actually see this. We see that it was only because Commander Shinomiya was this obstacle that Commander Narumi kept on pushing himself harder and harder. Even though he became one of the top rookies of the JDF, he would not relax until he could somehow overcome Commander Shinomiya. And because that was his objective, most likely if he was able to overcome that, that drive would change. And so what Commander Shinomiya was worried about in chapter 88, you could see in chapter 87 and 86. But now, because Monster Number 11 had Commander Shinomiya's memory, this became the final challenge to Narumi. And by being able to overcome monster number 11, even if Commander Shinomiya was not there, he was able to overcome that obstacle and get to the level that Commander Shinomiya and Commander Itami was hoping for. And so, observing how Commander Narumi defeated monster number 11 so strongly, Commander Itami had to give a smile and hoped that there was some part of Commander Shinomiya out there who could see Commander Narumi achieving this level. And in fact, Commander Narumi also felt that way, that now that he was able to defeat monster number 11, he hoped that there was some part of Commander Shinomiya left, a soul, a spirit, something that would look at this and find it acceptable and hopefully maybe even shed a tear. But what's interesting is after he thought about that, he of course sat down and said, "What am I thinking about? Knowing that bastard, he would never shed a tear, and I can't even imagine that." And so this does bring a really nice closure to the Commander Narumi story by bringing the opposite perspective that gave this entire story a balance in understanding what was going on. And so with that, we of course move to the next battle, and as we expected, this turned out to be Commander Hoshina versus monster number 12. And what we find out is that this is a close quarter combat against a small monster. It's not one of those gigantic building size monsters, and the fight turns out to be a blade to blade confrontation. So at first glance, this should be easy for Commander Hoshina. This is right up his alley, and yet we find out that he is getting overwhelmed during the battle. And no matter how much Commander Hoshina brings out his game, he is pushed back completely by monster number 12. And Headquarters is absolutely amazed at this because this should be right up his alley. But of course, through Commander Hoshina's memory, we understand what's going on. Commander Hoshina right now has the augmentation of monster number 10 and his own battle skills. And by that, he should be overwhelmingly powerful. However, what we find out is that monster number 10 was a prototype monster for an even more powerful monster to come later on. And guess which monster that is? Yes, it's monster number 12. And so monster number 12 is a better version of monster number 10. And because of that, no matter how much Commander Hoshina can augment his powers by using his battlesuit, it's not enough. And we see at the very end that monster number 12 just beats him right down. And so, just like with Kikoru Shinomiya, and just like with Commander Narumi, Hoshina has a major obstacle to overcome. And so it'll be interesting to find out what exactly his technique will be to be able to overcome his major obstacle. But we'll have to wait until future chapters to find out what happens. And once chapter 89 comes out, I'll bring out another video and I hope you join me at that time. But this is the chapter 88 discussion of Kaiju Hachiko or Kaiju number 8. If you read it, what you think about it, any comments will be greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, happy manga reading, and as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.